Welcome to 8 Minutes Chinese. Today, we're unlocking the essential phrases you can use in daily life and master in your next business negotiation.
Have you ever, sat in a meeting where the absolute smartest person in the room,
So absolutely nothing.
yes, said nothing the entire time, while everyone else is just, talking in circles for an hour?
Oh, I see that all the time.
Right. We spend our whole professional lives terrified of looking incompetent. So we over-prepare, we over-talk, we drive all these buzzwords just to prove we belong in the room.
Which is exhausting, honestly.
It really is. But today, we're doing a deep dive into this incredible language learning script we've been reviewing, because our mission today is to unpack a cultural and linguistic concept that basically proves why the ultimate flex of true intelligence is, well, it's actually the willingness to appear a little bit foolish.
It completely upends the modern corporate playbook, doesn't it?
It totally does, because our instinct is to assume that the quiet person in the room is disengaged or, I don't know, just out of their depth. But the sources we're analyzing today suggest we've got that dynamic completely backwards.
We really do. This isn't just a basic vocabulary lesson. It's a look into quiet confidence. True, undeniable mastery never feels that anxiety-driven need to announce itself to everybody.
Okay, so let's get right to the core of it. The central phrase we're looking at today. Let me try to say this carefully because I really want to get the tones right. It's edazi royu, right?
That was fantastic, yes.
Yes.
Favezi royu.
Awesome. I'm really trying to emphasize those syllables. So dazi wo means great wisdom, right?
Exactly. Profound wisdom. And then the diro yuo translates to appears as foolishness. So the whole phrase, edazi royu, means great wisdom appears as foolishness.
Great wisdom appears as foolishness. I love that.
It's the idea that the absolute sharpest minds the people with the deepest understanding of a complex system. They often navigate the world in a way that looks incredibly basic or uncomplicated, even painfully slow to an untrained eye.
Which is such a fascinating lens for looking at our chaotic, hyper-visible work culture today. But to really grasp it, we need to trace this back, right?
Right.
Because this isn't some management trend that just popped up on LinkedIn.
Oh, definitely not. This goes back centuries. It's actually rooted in ancient Taoist philosophy.
Wow. Okay, so how far back are we talking?
You can trace it directly back to Laozi. In his foundational text, the De Zhengham, specifically in chapter 45, he introduces this parallel concept. It's a takino rozu shojet.
Let me practice that one.
Uh,
Takino rozujet.
Perfect. And that means great skill appears clumsy.
Great skill appears clumsy. Wow.
Yeah. And centuries later, the celebrated scholar Su Shi popularized the specific variation we're talking about today, a dazi rujiejet. But the psychological mechanism is the exact same. Masterful work is stripped of all that performative junk. It just looks plain.
Okay, I have to jump in here and push back a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
Because, Taoist monks writing poetry on a mountain, they didn't have to worry about quarterly performance reviews, That is very true.
Or massive tech layoffs. In the brutal reality of corporate America, if you don't perform your competence, if you don't play that whole fake it till you make it game, someone louder is just going to take your promotion.
I hear you.
So how is appearing clumsy not just a fast track to getting walked all over?
Well, that is the exact tension that makes this concept so hard to practice. You're completely right that our immediate environment rewards noise.
It really does.
But we have to distinguish between short-term survival tactics and long-term mastery. The sources actually give us a great scenario for this. Think about the highest level of corporate pressure.
Like a venture capitalist pitch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A VC startup pitch. It's an arena defined by millions of dollars, massive egos, and this desperate need to impress.
Oh, yeah, an incredibly unforgiving environment.
So take two hypothetical founders pitching the same VC firm. Founder A comes into the boardroom like a hurricane. They take up the entire hour talking at lightning speed.
Drop in all the buzzwords, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All of them. Synergy, hypergrowth, first mover advantage. They're just building this massive polished wall of absolute certainty.
And to be fair to Founder A, that's literally what most startup accelerators teach you to do.
Right. Project an impenetrable aura of confidence.
Make them believe the hype?
But then look at Founder B. Founder B comes in and uses remarkably plain language. And when a VC partner asks a really complex, maybe aggressive question about year 3 revenue, Founder B actually pauses.
They don't just invent a metric on the spot.
Nope. She calmly says, "We haven't modeled that specific variable yet, and here's why we're waiting for more data before we do." She spends most of the hour actually listening to the investors' concerns.
Which, I mean, according to the standard playbook, looks like total weakness.
It looks like she's conceding ignorance.
Right. With millions of dollars on the line.
But our sources point out a critical psychological reality about seasoned VCs. Investors who've been around for decades, who've watched hundreds of companies fail, they look for a specific tell.
And it's not the buzzwords.
Not at all. They know jargon is often a defense mechanism. It's an intellectual smokescreen to mask insecurities or just a fundamental lack of understanding.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Founder B's plainness, her willingness to just sit comfortably in the unknown, that signals immense cognitive mastery.
That is a phenomenal distinction. It makes me think of like an architectural support beam.
Oh, I like that. How so?
Like if a building's foundation is structurally flawless, you don't need to paint the steel beams neon yellow just to convince people the roof isn't going to cave in.
Yes.
The quiet stability is the proof. Founder B is so grounded in her competence that she doesn't need to wrap it in that flashy neon packaging.
That hits the mechanism perfectly. The packaging is almost always there to distract you from a defective product. When someone refuses to use the packaging, it forces you to lean in and look at the substance.
Absolutely. So let's bring this down from the executive suite and look at like a random Tuesday morning.
Okay, the daily grind.
Yeah. How does this structural integrity show up in the trenches? The sources mention a scenario in the tech world, specifically a code review or a daily stand-up meeting.
Oh, stand-up meetings are fascinating. They're like psychological petri dishes.
They really are. You always have that one highly visible, flashy engineer, the person who feels the need to prove they read the latest tech blog at 6 a.m.
Right. And they'll hijack a 5-minute update just to advocate for migrating the entire backend to some serverless microservices architecture.
Throwing out hypothetical latency optimizations.
Yeah.
Which, we shouldn't necessarily villainize that engineer.
No, not at all.
A lot of times, that behavior is entirely driven by imposter syndrome. They're in this hyper-competitive firm, everyone is brilliant,
Right.
and they're just terrified of being exposed as average.
So they build a fortress of complexity to protect themselves. Empathy is crucial there. They are just reacting to an anxious environment.
Exactly.
But contrast their anxiety with the senior engineer in the room, the veteran who has spent 20 years watching complex systems just fail.
The person who has actually seen it all.
Right. This person waits for the flashy engineer to finish their 10-minute monologue. The whole room is spun up in anxiety, and the veteran asks one simple, seemingly naive question.
What do they ask?
Wait, why does this specific function need to be this complicated?
Oh, man. The ultimate "Ainai Dazi Ruyo" moment.
It really is. It sounds like a question an intern would ask. It appears foolish, but it instantly deflates the room because it cuts completely through the performative architecture.
It isolates the actual truth of the system.
Yes. The veteran isn't trying to manage the room's perception of your intellect. They just want to solve the problem.
It's the difference between ego-driven participation and value-driven participation. And honestly, this dynamic translates perfectly to how we build relationships, too.
How so?
Well, think about the sheer dread of a corporate networking event.
Oh, the worst.
You walk into a conference hall, it's full of strangers, you feel totally out of your depth, and the biological response is to overcompensate.
We armor up. We put on this mask of supreme confidence.
Exactly. You get loud.
Yeah.
You eagerly hand out business cards to people who definitely didn't ask for them.
So true.
You casually drop the name of a VP you met for like 30 seconds 3 years ago.
Yeah.
You basically turn yourself into a walking billboard for your own resume, just praying someone buys what you're selling.
Which means you're treating the people you meet as an audience rather than as actual individuals.
Yes. But then you have the quiet attendee, the person standing comfortably near the edge of a circle. They aren't anxiously waiting for you to finish your sentence so they can launch into their elevator pitch.
Right.
They ask a genuinely curious question about your work, and then they actually listen to your answer.
And think about the psychological effect of that interaction.
It's completely different.
When someone throws their resume at you, your brain registers it as a slight threat or an imposition. You just feel like a prop in their play.
Yeah, you feel used.
But when someone offers you genuine, unhurried silence, you feel valued. The quiet person is magnetic because their interest is authentic. Their silence might initially be misread as a lack of charisma, but it's actually a highly sophisticated form of social wisdom.
It creates a vacuum that pulls people in, instead of a wall of noise that pushes them away.
Beautifully put.
But, okay, here's where we hit a massive modern complication with all of this. Everything we've discussed so far, the pitch, the stand-up, the networking event, it all relies on physical presence.
Right. Being in the same room.
People can see your relaxed body language. They can read the calmness in your eyes. What happens to this philosophy in a remote digital work environment?
That is the big question.
Because on a platform like Slack or Teams, silence doesn't look like quiet confidence. It just looks like you aren't working.
You are touching on the core anxiety of the modern digital age right there. Remote work has created this massive crisis of visibility.
It really has. In a Slack-heavy culture, there's this deep, almost evolutionary fear of being ostracized by the tribe because they can't physically see you contributing.
So people treat messaging channels like a public performance of their own busyness.
Exactly. Just wrapping up a deep dive on Q3 metrics or pushing a massive commit before I sign off.
They're generating sheer volume to mathematically prove their employment.
Right. And we've built algorithms in corporate cultures that fundamentally confuse frequency with importance.
The system literally rewards noise.
Yes. If you post 10 times a day, the algorithm, and let's be honest, middle management, flags you as highly engaged. So in that context, choosing to practice and or is profoundly risky.
It is.
It's almost a quiet act of rebellion against the whole algorithmic mindset. You're actively refusing to play the volume game.
But let's interrogate that rebellion for a second. If you refuse to play the game, don't you just lose?
That's the fear.
If you're quiet on Slack for 6 months, when promotion cycles roll around, your manager might literally forget the value you bring. How is this not just self-sabotage wrapped in a philosophical bow?
Okay, this is where the nuance is so critical.
Yeah.
The sources draw a very hard line here. Practicing this concept is not a license to just check out.
Right.
It is not an excuse to mute your microphone, play video games, and tell yourself you're some misunderstood Taoist master.
Silence does not equal genius.
Thank you.
If you're quiet because you didn't do the reading or because you just don't understand the material, that is just foolishness appearing as exactly what it is.
Foolishness.
Right.
The distinction lies in the underlying competence. This philosophy means you don't manufacture noise just to prove you are in the room.
You still speak up.
You still contribute. But your contributions are deeply considered. You're the teammate whose icon rarely flashes, but when the servers crash at 4 p.m. on a Friday and everyone is panicking,
You calmly drop one 3-sentence message that perfectly diagnoses the root cause and provides the solution.
It's about density of insight versus volume of output.
I love that. A high-revving sports car engine in neutral makes a massive amount of noise, but it goes absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
But a diesel locomotive moving a mountain, it barely sounds like it's working hard, but the sheer torque is undeniable.
You want to be the locomotive.
You want to be the locomotive.
So let's pivot a bit to how we actually use this terminology. Because there's a brilliant cultural paradox baked into how these phrases are deployed.
There really is.
A very practical question came to mind when reading the sources. Can you use this phrase to describe yourself?
Oh, boy.
Like in a job interview, could I sit down and say, my greatest strength is my dazi wo yu?
That would be a catastrophic error.
I figured.
Yeah, this phrase is considered one of the highest possible compliments in Chinese culture, but the golden rule is that it is strictly and universally applied to others.
Only to others.
Right. You use it to describe a revered mentor or brilliant colleague who saved a project without ever taking the credit.
Because the moment you claim it for yourself, you completely destroy the premise.
Precisely. The psychology of humility dictates that true humility is entirely unaware of itself. If you announce to a room, I am so incredibly wise that I appear foolish to all of you, you have just engaged in loud, performative bragging.
You've proven you don't possess the trait you're claiming.
Exactly. It's a self-canceling paradox.
So how would we hear this used in context? The sources provide a really great sentence to describe that quiet, brilliant colleague we talked about.
Yes. So phonetically, you might hear someone say, "Ta kong lai bu du shu shua da nang lui faxian da ke shi zanjeng da ziro yuderane."
Let me break that down. So that means he never says much, but you'll realize he's the truly wise one.
Spot on. And there are a few other highly relevant modern concepts that orbit this same philosophical center.
Oh, I'd love to hear them.
Another one you'll frequently encounter is shankang buludan.
Okay, let me try. Shankangulu, meaning deeply hidden, not exposed.
Exactly. It describes someone who intentionally hides their formidable abilities until the exact critical moment where those abilities are required.
It's like the sniper approach to problem solving.
Great way to put it. Then you have di jiaoes. Di jiao. This is a very common everyday term for keeping a low profile, especially regarding your own success or wealth.
DGOA. Remaining intentionally understated. I like that.
And finally, the ultimate compliment for someone's professional capability, di chitawai.
Papitava.
Yes.
That's like the real deal, right? The substance faction.
Exactly. Someone who relies entirely on their actual capability rather than networking, branding, or flashy packaging.
When you combine all of these, the low-key demeanor, the hidden ability, the reliance on pure substance, you arrive at the ultimate real-world scenario from our sources.
The pinnacle of how this quiet mastery operates at the very top of the corporate food chain.
The board meeting. This story perfectly encapsulates the mechanics of everything we've talked about today.
It really does.
Imagine a high-stakes, closed-door strategy session. You've got the CEO, the VPs, all these external consultants. And for 45 straight minutes, the room is just an absolute war zone.
Just chaos.
People are throwing up complex slide decks, interrupting each other, debating these aggressive market expansion projections. Everyone is fighting desperately to establish dominance.
They all want to prove they are the smartest strategist in the room. The cognitive load in that room must be staggering.
Oh, mass.
Because everyone is so busy formulating their next counter-argument that no one is actually processing the whole picture.
Exactly. But sitting at the very end of the table is the CFO. And for 45 minutes, she has not spoken a single word.
Not one.
She hasn't defended her turf. She hasn't challenged the marketing VP. She's just been watching the battle.
Finally, as the CEO tries to move to a vote, she clears her throat and asks one simple question.
And what does she ask?
What happens to our operational runway if this new partnership falls through in month 4 instead of month 12?
Wow. The devastating power of the unasked question. The sources describe the room going completely uncomfortably silent. Because despite 45 minutes of highly aggressive, loud strategizing, the collected group had entirely missed a massive, fundamental vulnerability in their timeline.
That is incredible.
All the noise, all the posturing, it just vanished instantly in the face of one quiet observation.
We really need to look at the cognitive mechanism of why the CFO won that room.
Yeah, let's break it down.
She was not disengaged. By refusing to enter the chaotic fray of that ego-driven debate, she conserved her cognitive energy.
She let the noise filter out all the obvious arguments.
Exactly. Allowing her brain to scan the deep structure of the proposed strategy. She was processing, synthesizing, and simply waiting for the structural flaw to reveal itself.
She let everyone else exhaust themselves painting the walls while she quietly checked the foundation.
That is a perfect analogy.
And when she found the crack in the foundation, she didn't need to yell to point it out.
No, because true mastery doesn't care about the spotlight. It isn't measured by the sheer volume of words you speak or your visibility metrics on a dashboard. It's about the patience to let the noise settle.
It requires a profound shift in how we view our own value. When you're deeply secure in your own competence, you stop viewing silence as a terrifying void that you have to urgently fill with your own voice.
You start treating silence as a strategic tool.
Yes, it becomes a space where you can actually observe the reality of a situation, totally free from the pressure of having to constantly perform.
It's so liberating when you think about it.
We spent a lot of time today talking about how this applies to boardrooms, startup pitches, and digital workspaces. We've looked at how algorithms and corporate ladders try to trick us into believing that volume equals value.
But there's more to it than just work.
There is. As we wrap up, I want to offer a slightly different lens to you, the listener, because this philosophy doesn't just apply to how you get promoted. It applies deeply to how we connect with the people we care about the most.
The personal application is arguably even more powerful than the professional one.
Think about your personal life this week. When your partner comes home completely overwhelmed by a crisis, or when your child comes to you with a problem they can't solve, what is your immediate instinct?
To fix it.
Right. For most of us, our instinct is to prove we are a good partner or a good parent by instantly filling the space with wise advice. We rush to fix it, we lecture, we strategize.
We try to perform our competence as a caregiver. We treat their emotional crisis like a boardroom problem that needs a 10-point action plan.
What if true relational wisdom looks entirely different? What if the next time someone you love brings you a problem, you actively choose to appear foolish?
You just sit back.
What if you suppress the urge to have all the answers, and you just sit in the uncomfortable quiet space with them? You might find that they don't need your brilliant advice at all. They just need the profound, steadying presence of someone who is secure enough to simply listen. Until next time.
Hope you loved today's 8-minute upgrade. Don't forget to subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time.